So today we are looking at how we can display certain types of data in a frequency table. Okay, so a frequency table tells us a listing of values that a variable takes on in a data set, along with how often it happens. So we could collect certain things. So you might interview a certain number of people. You might collect that they're male or female, and then you might ask them how many pets they have at home or something like that. Okay, so you'll say how many of these people have pets, and you'll get a frequency going. All right, so how has forming a frequency table helped? So why would we put our data into a frequency table? Because it compacts it up. If I gave a company asked me to work out some data and here it is, I can't just give them all the lists. It doesn't quickly tell me an overshot of what's going on. So that's what they mean when it compacts it up. It sort of gives us a good overview of what's happening, and it'll tell us if we might be able to see any patterns. So when we do the frequency tables, it's pretty easy. That they'll give you the data, they'll tell you the frequency, but sometimes they're going to ask you to calculate a percentage or change it to a percentage frequency. So this is how we always do a percentage, is that you get the amount over the total of what you're talking about and you times it by 100. That's a very important. I find that if you write that when you're asked to calculate a percentage, it can help, and we'll see that in a minute on how that helps. So how has forming a frequency table helped? We just said that it's a compact form. So, and it will show me how the data is distributed a little bit. Okay, so I've just gone straight for the examples. In the exams, you mainly get tables already done up, and you'll have to fill in the blanks. In a SAC, you could possibly get asked to do the whole thing. So the chapters will work you through that. So blood pressure, low, normal and high, and the age under 50 of 110 adults were recorded, and the results are displayed in a two-way frequency table as shown. Two-way is because we're actually testing. We're taking two pieces of information there, really. We're taking their age, which category they're in, and we're also taking whether they are low, normal, or high. So this is a two-way frequency table, but same thing. All right, so remember we talked about we've got two types of data, and to me they look both categorical, and we said the other day what they were. So out of categorical, are they nominal or ordinal? These ones were both ordinal. There's an order in there. Okay, so down in question, if you look down in this question 1, it says the percentage of adults under 50 years of age. So when they said that, they want a percentage. So this is where I said, all right, when you ask for a percentage, you should say it's the amount over the total that they want times 100. So just then, they've said the percentage of adults under 50 years. So there's my total, the under 50 years. So if I go up to the graph, under 50 years, there's a total of 58. So now I've got the 58 who have a high blood pressure. So I want under 50 that have a high. So this is how I would work it out, times 100. So I've got 11 out of the 58. If you write that out, you'll make less mistakes. Often, little errors are made with doing that. Okay, so that roughly ends up being close to 19. Okay, so I just threw in a little question about a two-way frequency table involving two variables. One of the variables could be attitude towards shorter working days. You're either for or against. What would the other variable look like? If you look at it here, a frequency table is using categorical data. So which one could we also look? So you're looking at whether you're for or against. What one would it be? Yeah, because it's categorical, isn't it? So we're going to go that one. The rest are numerical. What would age be? Discrete or continuous in years? This one will actually be discrete. Generally, we're saying we count how many years you are. Height, what would height be? Continuous, numerical continuous. Income to the nearest dollar. I'd probably say that's discrete. Yeah, you're counting how much money you get. And time spent traveling to work, that would be continuous. Just so there's some examples for you of what we did the other day. Alright, so we can use a frequency table and we can also display it in a bar chart. If you notice, a bar chart has these gaps here. So there's gaps between the columns, that's a bar chart. And a bar chart is good for describing a dominant category. So we would have looked in here. So here we've got a frequency table and we've got cold, moderate or hot on the type of days we had. Now you can see we've put it into a frequency table. So all right, I could have a look here and I can see moderate is the highest percentage. But can you see when you graph it in a bar chart, it's very quick. Can you see? You probably pick up really much, a lot quicker. Visually can see. You can visually see that moderate is the modal category. What do I mean by mode or modal category? It's the most common or most popular, most frequent. So that's why we would display it like that, because that's way better. You go in, people don't want to read the numbers, they just want to roughly see what it is. So when you then go to describe, so all about further and this data, it will be describing what the data shows us. So we've made a frequency table, we've then created a bar chart, we would then have to comment on that. So for me to comment on that, I would probably start it off with that, because we're looking at climate type. Through climate type, I can see that the most frequent type was moderate, and I might say with the percentage. So I'll say with 60.9%. And then I might say followed by the hot and then cold. But you need to quote stats. And did you see how I didn't? It was actually, we surveyed 23 countries or something. It said what type of climate they had. Can you see how we're not saying anything why we think there's more moderate climates? We're just saying of these 23 countries, we see that. So there's an example of a report down here, and you can see the climate type of 23 countries were classified as being cold, moderate or hot. The majority of countries, 60.9%, were found to have a moderate climate. Of the remaining 20 countries, 26 were found to have hot and 13% to have cold. Really, all you need to put on the exam is, you don't have that to have the first. You just have to say the majority of countries, where 60.9% were found to be moderate. That's the main thing that you're looking at. There's your 1 mark. Now, you have to include a stat. So I mean a number. Okay? So when you include a stat, so what I mean by that is the 60.9% we've shown. And you might show that it's higher than the others, which they sort of did as well. All right. So if we look over, I just wanted to have a little look at if you didn't know about certain of these things. So remember, the mean is written with an X and a line above. Now the mean is the sum of all the values over the total. Sometimes we call that the average. So in sporting and stuff, you would say a batsman's average batting rate, and you work out how many runs they make per game over the season and things. That's an average. The median is, and on your calculator, they just call it MED. Median X actually. Is the middle value. So if you have a set of values and you put them in order like this, so I've got say I've got 5 numbers there. The median ends up being the middle one. So right there, that's the median. I've put them in order from smallest to highest, and it's the middle number. Can you see I've got 2 below and 2 above it? If you have a set of even numbers, so say so see how there's even numbers there? The median will be in between the middle of those two. So if you look, that would be 5.5 would be the median. All right. Now, why do we use the median sometimes and the mean the other time? Well, the important thing to remember is the median is a resistant statistic, which means it's not affected by the big outliers. So say I changed this up here, like this one up here, to just say we were looking at how many pets everyone had, and then all of a sudden there was this crazy cat lady or something and they had 100 up here, yeah? They had 100 cats. If you average them out, like those numbers, it's going to be a high average because of that 100. Can you see that? But then if I walked around and I'd surveyed the 5 people, but then you came up to a random person and they said, well, what was your average? And you rip out this average was 30-something pets. They're going to say, what? That's not really what happened, isn't it? It was one person that had a whole heap of a lot of pets or something. So can you see how if they asked me, then what was the median? And I said, 5.5. See how that's more to what all the other numbers are. So that's what we mean when it's resistant. So the median is good when you have extremes either end. So often you'll see it if you're recording weights or things, because you might just have some person that's just that extreme, like the extreme obese person amongst your survey, doesn't give a good average. So we would use the median. So that's important. We only use the mean if the data is nice, and we'll learn about it later, symmetrical and nice and thing. But just to talk about, now if you didn't know how to get the mean and all that, I've put the instructions there. So we really need to know this. So when you've got a set of data here, like these set of lists, so you go to lists and spreadsheets on your calculator, you pop your list in, which I've done there. You should really give your list a name. So just say you're going to call it X or whatever. So then when you're going off to get all the statistics on that list, while you're on the lists and spreadsheets, you just press menu. So you go menu, stats for stat calculations. So the little steps are there. Most of you know how to do it. In case some of you don't, it's there. And also over here, I've shown you how to calculate the mean and the median if you have a frequency table, because you can actually do that. And if you have a look, I've listed the list of all of what they were looking at, and then I put a frequency in. And these instructions, if you follow it through, menu, stats, stat calc and all that, you'll see you get the option to just say whether there's a frequency list, and so you can work that out. It'll help you with your chapter work.